and then go to try to share this and see if I can get everything to align with me. Are you able to see my screen? Oh, wait, that's.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see it.
Perfect. Now let me present. Zoom was being really funny with us today, so it gets tricky sometimes. Welcome to the Art of Emotional Body Mapping. We are so passionate about this work, Kate and myself. It's been a life journey, of working on people, and I think my own body has taught me a lot itself, but through my clients, we've worked on injuries in the body, PTSD, wounded warriors, people walking through hospice, or cancer treatments or chronic disease. And at the end of the day, what we find laying underneath the surface is their emotions. And so this class is built and designed for anyone that's seeking that deeper understanding of themselves and their emotional and physical well-being. It's perfect for individuals committed to fostering a harmonious relationship with your body and others. Whether you are a body worker, a healer, or someone that believes in the transformative power of touch, this class is going to offer you valuable insights and techniques to help you along your journey. You're going to explore with us the profound connections between emotions and the physical states and learn how to facilitate healing through informed and compassionate body work. We like to say that the body has whispers. It's this incredible healing vessel. It creates its own symphony in the fascia in its interconnected systems. And as massage therapists, we work on the muscles and we're taught the muscles, and then we have all the fascia that comes in between that, the nervous system. And then I have over the length of my career can tell the difference immediately between physical and emotional bindings. And we all live every day with this. We all have our own language to the body whispers, and it holds a key that unlocks hidden traumas and it accesses our innate wisdoms once we can anchor in and unlock these with this mapping. And so here we go. We're going to have a journey. We are both holistic therapists. Kate has dedicated her life. She wrote this program after being in the hospital for 2+ years, caregiving for her husband. And I was not on their journey during that cycle of their life, but it is, imagine losing someone and you have to rebirth them into this life as a full-grown human and watch them learn to talk and walk. And in any time that you see war, in any, whether it's war from an impact of someone driving wrong, whether you're in a car, whatever trauma cycle it comes through. So that touch and the witness of the healing power we've learned how to release that pent-up emotion. So trauma is not merely confined to your mind. It echoes in your heart. It travels along your nervous system, and it will weave through your fascia lines, and it settles deep into your gut. You can sense it in someone's voice, with their trembling hands, shaky breath, or overwhelming weakness that can grip your own body. And it's not just in our minds that bears the weight of traumatic experiences. It is a cellular memory that is within us, and it's serving as a silent witness to those moments and those impacts. The first step on any journey is to acknowledge the truth towards healing, to recognize something. I have this going on. It reminds us that recovery requires tending on the whole self in the body, mind, and the spirit. The silent witness. It is this incredible mentor. And I don't know about you guys, but my trauma in life has taught me my whole journey, my whole path. And it's been an incredible teacher. Kate and myself were skilled massage therapists, and our hands just have this magical touch that goes to, it just instinctively settles into that deep innate wisdom that's in everybody. And it's about learning as therapists that when we're manipulating the muscles, the tendons, that we're listening and we're feeling, and we can decipher that subtle language of that body and that body mapping. And as we move through this class and teach you that body mapping, it will really, you'll get to do it on yourself and it will become clear. Kate's journey is that she dove deeper into the body work world, learning how the emotions and the stories with her wounded warrior and the other wounded warriors were on the floor, and was able to work alongside the teams and work with the PTs and the trauma therapists to really help create this map. And it has been done before. We know other authors that we have learned from ourselves that have also been able to help decipher this body map and the silent language that it has, because we all carry this emotional armor, right, up front. And it really will take that patience and intuition and the willingness to listen to yourself, and discover your own whisperings and secrets, and acknowledging what's going on within you and then also within your clients. I'm going to read Kate's story a little bit. I've got my own, but I'm going to read Kate's story because it is such a beautiful and fascinating journey. And I know that we all have our own story, but when we share it, it really helps us uncover what's going on inside. And so I distinctly remember my first encounter with this profound connection between the body and the emotional landscape. I was a young, eager student, just beginning my journey in body work. A client, a woman we will call Anna, arrived with a chronic upper back pain that plagued her for years. Doctors had offered little relief, and she was desperate for an alternative. As I began the massage, I noticed that her chest muscles were incredibly tight and contracted. The tension seemed to radiate outward and spread to her shoulders and neck. And as I worked deeper, I felt this wave of emotion surge through her, a palpable release of pent-up tears. "It's like I'm carrying a mountain on my shoulders," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Can you tell me about this mountain? What is it made of?" She hesitated, then took a shaky breath. "It's all the things I can't seem to escape. The fear, the sadness, the anger. It's like a heavy blanket smothering me, even when I'm trying to breathe." Through gentle questioning and empathic listening, I learned that Anna had recently lost her husband to a sudden illness. Her grief, bottled up and unspoken, had manifested in her body, manifesting chronic pain. She began to cry. The muscle tension started to ease. Her tears, once suppressed, now flowed freely, bringing a sense of relief and softening to her physical and emotional armor. That day, I realized the body was not just a physical entity, but the powerful storyteller. And it had a wisdom of our experiences, both the joyous and the painful, and spoke in a language that transcends words. Over the years, I have encountered countless clients whose bodies carried the weight of their pasts, stories of trauma, heartbreak, and unfulfilled desires. And each individual held within them a unique narrative, a symphony of whispers that resonated with their physical and emotional experiences. The body's language was no longer a mystery to her or me. It was a map that guided me, a compass that pointed to the heart of their pain, and a source of profound healing. I realized that my role was not their own body's whisper to unravel the stories that had been locked away for years. And so began my journey into body work, where the body became a vessel for healing, a gateway to the heart, and a testament to the profound wisdom that resides in all of us. Kate is such a beautiful storyteller. And for myself, and I have again come across this time and time again as I've collected coursework, as I've come across people that their bodies are just wrecked. And in my own story, I've wrecked my body too. And I've fallen off a horse head first. I've been hit by a car. And I would not be walking today without body work itself. But without emotional healing and without uncovering the whispers and the stories in my own body, I would not even be able to do and see others. And so I do believe that we can take people as far as we can go ourselves, and our willingness to heal within ourselves. And Kate and I vastly believe that we are a witness to someone's path. And you stand back, you listen to the whispers, you allow it to have its own self-talk, and then you move through it with them, releasing it out of the body. And through multiple therapies combined together, we've learned techniques that will poke the bear and open up the body's talk. But we also want to be mindful and respectful of how we do that. So before we go into a little bit of breath work, how to, and then moving through it, this does become a part of one of the biggest parts of trauma healing is to help people breathe again. Breathe in their body, feel their body, stop disassociating through conscious body work and conscious breath work. Is there anyone here that does breath work with their sessions already?
Well, I do breathe in a circular pattern the entirety of every session, to the point where I have had many of my clients rely on it to cue their own breath work. So I don't hold back when I'm in a session
Yeah.
to do long exhales and deep breathing across the back of my palate that's audible.
Mm-hmm. It helps them pace their own breathing when you do that.
It's been commented to me enough where I feel like it's a part of the work that I do.
Yeah. Well, part of this is we do teach you the exercises for breath work. That is that circular breath, a parasympathetic breath, and then a trauma release breath work. And so we do want you to make sure that you're in a comfortable place where you might be able to lean back. Because as therapists, when we do this ourselves, it is powerful. And we know what we have going in our own self, what we can do for clients as well. Is there anyone else that uses breath work already within their sessions? Well, let's go ahead and get you integrated then. Okay. Circular breath work is a continuous, conscious, connecting breathing technique. Your breath works we do a cycle of it, almost like a clock, with it having the same inhale and the same exhale. And I'll go ahead and do some audible breathing, but so that circular breath work, you want to keep it conscious with your clients. And this method varies from a traditional breathing exercise, as it focuses on maintaining that rhythm and fostering a deep meditative state. And that can facilitate emotional release and just reduce stress and promote, like a lot of my clients will just end up going to sleep and their body just softens when I guide their breath. So it promotes that physical well-being, because I think so many of us were caught breathing in our chest and being shallow breathers today. Even me, sometimes I get caught up here and it's like, no, breathe from your belly, circular breath work. And so this is the first breath pattern that you can go through to just prepare your clients to relax into their body and get connected. And so if you want to just take a second, the same inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. We're going to give you time after I teach you all of these breathing patterns to about 10 minutes to go through them all. And so our next one is going to be a parasympathetic breath. And this is a 4-7-8. So it is breathing through the nose for 4, holding for 7, exhaling for 8. And so this breath is designed to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And then this is going to promote that really deep calmness and relaxation. And so to demonstrate this breath, breathe in through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through the mouth for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That continuous repetition on your own cycle of breath. Some people have longer breaths, some people have shorter breath holds. Some, until you've built it up, may not be able to hold your breath for quite 7 seconds, but we want you to really move through that. The 4, inhale, hold up to 7 or for as long as you can, and then exhale, extend it longer than your inhale.
The biggest thing with this breath, you guys, is that it helps turn off that autonomic nervous system. It's automatic for us to breathe. So when we can put the pause into breath, we actually create a consciousness with it. So that's why this type of breath is so beautiful and so powerful, because we're bringing our conscious thought into the body to create change.
So this one, it's going to really make that sense of inner peace. A lot of people will feel tingly. They'll feel their body flooding with oxygen. And then you'll take them into a trauma release breath work. And so this is a very focused breathing technique that's designed to help individuals release stored emotional and psychological trauma. This is a method that involves a deep inhale, followed by 3 quick exhales and 1 prolonged, steady exhale. And so that would be practicing this regularly can enhance emotional resilience, improve your mental clarity, and support overall well-being. When you're doing this with a trauma cycle, it will, it sometimes is the trick that people are able to open up to, and that it's the poke on the bear, where you move them. We do myofascial work and parasympathetic work, so we bring in a lot of elements into our body work through smell, sound, touch, and then when you add in the breath purposefully and intentionally, this is that piece that begins to sort of poke that trauma and say, hey, what's going on? Let's wake it up. It's time to stop hurting, and it's time to start healing.
Ez, can you show them on your body where those 3 short exhales are? From the stomach to the mid to the chest?
Yeah. So when you're doing this, you stand up. I have my filter on, but that is that.
Yeah, so the stomach, then towards the breast, and then into the chest. For those quick exhales. Belly, chest, upper chest. And then we just let that nice release happen.
You want to empty the whole vessel of breath at that final extension. Pause this. Oh, we love this video. It is so fantastic. Do you want to have them go into the breath work before or after this one? What do you think?
You know what? Let's have them watch this video, because it is going to show you this is a trauma release utilizing vibration techniques to be able to release and activate the vagus nerve. That's where you're hearing them chant. It's going to include pounding on an acupressure point called middle palace, which is a release of grief, and when you're feeling heartache, loneliness, all of those things in there. You're going to see that this is all about grief. It's about grieving somebody who has passed away, but they do it as a community. So much of us in our grief, we do it alone, and it needs to be done as a community. We need to vocally be able to let go and express grief. Once again, we are told in our society, don't cry, be quiet, sit back down.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Buckle up, buttercup. We've heard it all of stop feeling. And now this gives a beautiful example. And I love how it was mentioned in the earlier class that grief, it's that final tie to those that have crossed over. And so sometimes we're willing to hold it and we don't want to let it go because it means that we had to fully let go of those that have left us.
Alan Mondragoran. Lay your hand on him. Relieve us of our grief.
So just in watching that, you guys, how many of you felt emotional? How many of you got emotional and kind of choked up a little bit with that scene? Yes. Every time, I don't care how many times I've watched that. Every time it gets me right in the feels.
So grief is often stored right in that middle palace on the shoulder. And even in somatic therapy, when you're gonna go after grief and you have your male and your female sides, and you can go into the shoulders to activate it. And so we talk about when there's a lot of, if grief gets stuck in the body, that internal scream. And you don't get that internal shake, that trauma shake and that internal scream out of you, it does get stuck. And we've helped many people through that sacred moment of releasing that trauma shake and the internal scream that has kind of gotten blocked on that cellular memory. And so before we go into the science and the research, we're going to we'd love to take 10 minutes to really pace you through or have you each go through each one of these circular parasympathetic and trauma release breath works on yourself. So
you can take it whatever pace you want. You can be able to move through each of these as you feel like your body needs or want. This is a time for you to explore and discover what feels right for your body and get an idea of how you might utilize these 3 breaths to take your clients through.
So you're welcome to lay back, turn off your camera if you'd like, or to leave it on. We don't care. We're going to be here in the background, and what we want you to do, I'm going to put on a little bit. I like to add in sound frequencies sometimes to sessions or music. And so I'm going to have a little tiny background music for you guys. And I want you to go through that circular, parasympathetic, and trauma release breath work on yourself and notice how your body reacts. Okay, everyone, go ahead and finish your last breaths. And come on back. How did that feel? How does your body feel?
It's a little activated.
What does that mean to you?
It brings up all the grief.
Mhm.
There's a lot of grief in my body and a lot of stored trauma in my body. So whenever I do breathwork session, it brings it right up into, an activated state of processing those emotions.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you for sharing. Who else? How do you feel after doing breath work?
There was for me one very specific spot in my body coming up associated with grief. We've been talking about getting a new puppy. We lost our last Great Dane. It's just over 4 years ago, and we've been kind of coming around to the idea of getting another puppy, bringing one into our home. So I was surprised to see it was like a pressure, like somebody was holding a spot on my back. So it'll be interesting to see where that comes up throughout the course and what muscle group. And
Mhm.
Yes, you guys, this is the best part. Even with our breath work, we're starting to feel it in different parts of our body, or we're having different emotions pull up. So as we begin to start following the breadcrumbs of things as we keep moving forward, we're going to find out what that is, what the emotion is along with it. So keep in mind, if there were things that came up during your breath work or even thoughts, emotions, pain, tingling in a specific area, even write yourself a little note just so you have it. And as we go into the book portion of the handbook, you can be able to look up and see what those emotions are that tend to be stored in that area.
Yeah, there's a place in our class where you will do mapping on yourself, and it is always so amazing to hear what people come back with and stuff. So, who else would like to share how maybe their body feels or what's going on in it? Okay. All right, well, we will move forward then in class and um,
Thank you guys for sharing. I love
thank
getting to
you.
hear where you guys are at with it.
Um, let me figure out my tech finger here for a second.
The next part that we're going to be going into is talking to you guys a little bit about the science side of it, because I feel like that's a really important portion as well.
Mhm.
Um, we didn't just come to, make things up and just go, that sounds good. No, we've taken some amazing research from other sources, especially over in Europe right now. Oh, the research that's
Science.
going on with fascia in Europe is beyond incredible, you guys. Which do you think is the faster path? Muscle or fascia? Which one receives the message from the brain first? It's fascia. Fascia responds first. And when we think that our fascia is covering all of our bones, muscles, organs, think about what that means, that we know that that is the first line that gets hit with a message. It's so exciting. And then these guys are been huge inspirations for the development of emotional body mapping. Tom Myers and his incredible concepts on fascial lines. When we do myofascial flow and parasympathetic reset, we utilize his theories on myofascial lines and how this moves through the body. We have our amazing Dr. Peter Levine, who is just a huge pioneer in his field and how the body works and how emotions in the body come to fruition. Oh, it's so fantastic.
So the great divide within our bodies. We have the female on the left side and the male on the right side. And this is once you get into the bodywork world, just identification of which side is our feminine and our masculine. And so the female tends to be nurturing, sharing, tender, patient, intuitive, sensual, and male and masculine energies tend to be very structured and protective, logical, independent, disciplined, and confident and aware. And so when we begin to look at the body mapping, we take note, is it on the female side in the feminine, or is it on the male side in the masculine. And so even in your own awareness with what you felt in your body, go ahead and identify, are you leaning into the female and the feminine, or are you leaning into the masculine? Which side of your body hurts? If there is a side, sometimes it's all over the place. So feminine energy stores emotions and it manifests in physical symptoms and behaviors. Patterns associated with the feminine aspect include signs of tightness and discomfort in the left side of the body, feelings of emotional overwhelm, a tendency towards people pleasing, or difficulty asserting personal boundaries. One can engage in practices that align with feminine energy to uncover these emotions. Creative expression such as art and journaling, body work focused on releasing tension in the left side, and then mindfulness exercises, promoting that empathy and the intuition for yourself. And so that is the practices that if you're struggling with, I don't feel very feminine, that you can head towards. In the masculine and the emotional energy, this emotional resides in the masculine energy, often manifests as physical rigidity, especially on the right side of the body. Symptoms might include muscular tightness, a strong need for control and difficulty expressing emotions, difficulty expressing emotions or being vulnerable. Uncovering these stored emotions involves engaging in practices that foster masculine energy balances, such as structured activities like planning and goal setting, physical workouts aimed at the right side, and strategies enhancing self-discipline and confidence.
As you jump back really quick just to the emotional divide that shows everything again.
Mhm.
Okay, so also you guys keeping in mind following the breadcrumbs when we talk about following the breadcrumbs. Female, that could be you. That could be mom, that could be grandma, that could be daughter, that could be sister, that could be aunt. There's some kind of female energy going on there. I have a lot of pain in my left deltoid. This can be a thing with my mom. I'm holding a lot of resentment there that I realize I have and I need to work on and process. So it helps me identify what might be stored in that area along that female line. We also, when we talk about the female side, a lot of stuff tends to stem from past, where the male side, when we're on the right side, we have, that could be husband, that could be brother, uncle, father, grandfather, and we have everything kind of going more towards thoughts of the future. So this could even be, as you are emotional body mapping, this could be something that is coming up, but has like a hue around it that is more like, okay, well, they're holding worry here and stress, but this could be more of worry and stress for future events and things that are happening. So we have to keep following those breadcrumbs. It's going to lead us, we're going to become these amazing bodywork detectives as we are unraveling trauma. And this is one of your huge clues for you to follow. Any questions on that at all, you guys, on this emotional divide side of things, left side, right side of the body? Okay.
Okay, so we talked about the practices of balancing the energy. It's kind of working into what is masculine and what is feminine. And so yoga and breath work and those combined movements are feminine, with structured postures that can be masculine with balanced poses on both sides of the body. When you do cross-body integration style techniques too, it brings that together. Mindfulness and meditation practices encompass encompassing that introspection is very feminine, and focused concentration tends to be very masculine to help maintain that equilibrium. So meditation is another thing that really balances those two energy sides in that great divide. Creative and logical tasks, alternating between creative expression and logical problem solving ensures energy is not over or underutilized. Physical activity and rest, active engagement is very masculine, getting out, working out, but restful recovery is feminine. We need both sides of that spectrum to support our overall health and our physical and emotional well-being. Now, we also dive into the chakras, because the chakras are a great source of the body of how things aligned. So let's explore. Who here knows about chakras? Is this new information to anyone that we have chakras on here? Okay, awesome. If it is, go ahead and raise your hand. We will kind of begin uncovering the surface of chakras, but if you know chakras, then we're going to really explore how this goes, is the interplay between the chakras and the emotional body map. And we're going to delve into these energy centers and the understanding of the connections between the body and the motion. Okay, continue following the breadcrumbs of what's going on with us.
Yep. Just think every little bit that we're giving you guys, it's just another layer, another breadcrumb to be able to follow for you to be able to unravel the mysteries of this new language.
So I have had a practice based in emotional release. I did so much in injury rehabilitation. I had some amazing clients that I love a good injury. It gives me a puzzle to help figure out for that person. But I got stuck on when we had emotions layered on it, and I was able to dive deeper into learning and uncovering this. And once you head over into the side, some call it energy work, some call it energy medicine. I love to call it science now too. Science is catching up with us because it's always been symbolized for thousands and thousands of years. So our root chakra, it is a color red. It's a vibrant red, and this is what connects us to the earth. It's the foundations, the structure of our life. And it symbolizes the energy and the strength and vitality that we have. The location is at the base of the spine near the tailbone, at the perineum. It anchors us into our physical body and connects us to this earth. The element, again, is that earth. It's that grounding, the stability in our physical reality, what we're doing here on this earth. The crystals that are associated with this, because we do elemental tools as well, are red jasper, black tourmaline, smoky quartz, and hematite. The essential oils that will go alongside with this chakra is the vetiver, cedarwood, clover, and lang lang. And the muscles that are influenced with this chakra are the pelvic floor, knees, calves, shins, ankle, and the foot. When this chakra is out of balance, you feel, where do I belong on this earth? You feel off center. Where do I go? Where's my structure? Where's my security in life? We're going to move up into the sacral chakra. This is the color orange. It represents our creativity, our pleasure, our sensuality, and the emotion that we have. That's why the abdomen is our visceral center. The location is 2 fingers or 2 inches below the navel, and then 2 inches inward. The element is water. It's in the abdomen, everything is moving and floating, and so it symbolizes the fluidity of emotions and our adaptability in life. It's associated with the sacral chakra's connection to feeling in our relationships and the flow of energy in our creative process. The crystals that will align with this are carnelian, orange calcite, sunstone, and tigersite. And then the essential oils are the sweet orange, vanilla, Madagascar vanilla, cassia, and tangerine. The muscles that are going to be influenced by the sacral chakra are the iliopsoas, the gluteal muscles, hamstrings, quadriceps, adductors, and abductors. And so as we move through this, take those notes in your body. How do your chakras feel? Because as we move up into the solar plexus, the color yellow is our drive and our passion. It embodies our personal power, our self-esteem, our confidence. It's located above the navel and below the chest. And the elements are fire. This is where our drive comes from. And it symbolizes the energy and the transformation, our willpower. And it's that burning desire. When we get that burning desire in us to go achieve something and do something that we just can't shake off and let go, it's coming from that solar plexus. The crystals are going to be citrine, amber, yellow avertine, and golden calcite. Essential oils are lemongrass, lemon, grapefruit, and cardamom. With muscles, it influences those abdominal muscles, the QL, the quadratus lumborum, latissimus dorsi, the diaphragm, and then the serratus muscles. Then we have our heart chakra. Oh, our heart chakra is green. It symbolizes the growth, harmony, and healing and renewal of our life. It is that point that connects us. It's in the center of our chest, near the heart. It lies in the middle of the 7 chakras, and it's the bridge that connects us into our body and bridges us up into creation. In our top 3 chakras, its element is air, and it gives the heart chakra light, expansive, and flowing quality that significantly impacts both the physical and the emotional aspects of our being. Crystals are rose quartz, rhodonite, and mesocyte, and pink tourmaline. And then the essential oils that we associate with this one are rose, bergamot, jasmine, and marjoram. The muscles that are influenced by the heart chakra are going to be that trapezius, the rhomboids, rotator cuffs, the teres major, the pectoralis, deltoids, our upper arm flexors, triceps, forearms, and hands extensors.
And those paraspinals, which are our erector muscles up our back.
All the erector muscles in our upper back. And a lot of us tend to live in our heart chakra as body workers and or healers and wanting to help this world. And as
How
women.
many of you tend to have, as body workers, tend to have regular pain in those areas that are listed for the heart chakra?
Oh, sorry.
Me, for sure.
Me.
Yeah. We meet a lot of body workers that just live right in their heart chakra. We give and we give, and and tend to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders as women. Um, the throat, oh, the color blue, it embodies communication, our truth, and our self-expression. It's located in the throat near the thyroid gland, and it symbolizes the vastness and the expansiveness of us, the universe. It's akin to the space that allows for movement and existence. And in the context of the throat chakra, ether represents the potential for communication, expression, and connection. The crystals are blue lace agate, aquamarine, celestine, and turquoise. And the essential oils are eucalyptus, chamomile, peppermint, and geranium. But the muscles that are influenced by this are going to be the scalenes, the SCMs, sternocleidomastoid, the hyoids, the splenius capitis, and the splenius cervix. Yeah. The levator scapula and the muscles of mastication. And we will send all these slides to you so that you do have them after the class. Kate and I, we love to talk about how we are both working through our throat chakra right now.
Yes, very
We're
much.
writing books and we're putting our work down on paper, and we're coming together and we're combining so much of our own stories and our life journey and what we've learned and what we've done in practice and what we've seen and what we've witnessed. And it's amazing when you go to begin to really share it with the world, and not just a select few people, how much it's like, oh, here we go. Your throat chakra's been acting up for both of us a little bit or a lot.
A lot.
Let's be honest, a lot, So the crown chakra, and some of us love to live in our crown and don't want to connect to the earth, and some of us love to live in the earth and not connect to the crown. But the crown is that white violet, and it symbolizes our connection to spirit, consciousness, our enlightenment, or our creation. And the location is at the top of the head, and the most elevated of this, it's the most elevated of the seven, and serves as the point to our connection in the universal energy. The elements are thought and consciousness. Sometimes it's called cosmic energy, light. This element symbolizes pure consciousness, spiritual insight, and that universal connection. The crystals are going to be amethyst and that clear quartz, selenite, and purple fluorite. Essential oils that help with this are frankincense, lavender, myrrh, and cedar wood. And then the muscles are going to be your frontalis, your temporalis, and everything from here up pretty much. And as they all connect and interlace together, we have found that they move along the meridians and
Fascial lines.
fascial lines. And
I want to tell you guys too, another breadcrumb to watch going back to the chakras. Especially when there is trauma and things held in that area. I want you to really watch your client's body language. People tend to bring their hands and stroke or bounce or rub an area on their body that is out of balance. I noticed this a lot being in the hospital at Walter Reed, that this was a pretty constant thing that you would see with the soldiers. And they would always be very surprised that I'd go over and I'd start talking about what might be bothering them or hurting. And they'd be like, okay, are you psychic? What is happening? This is where we come and we start reading that body language, and we know what breadcrumbs to follow. We know the emotions that are held in that area, what the chakra meaning and expression of things might be. And it's very easy for us to take those breadcrumbs that we've found and toss them in front of somebody else and go, "Ooh, did you know?" And then all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, that is amazing. That is exactly what's happening right now."
How did you know?
How did you know? How do you know me? Well, that is us being able to read the body and understand it. Once again, this new language that we are speaking when it comes to emotions and stored trauma in the body.
Mhm. And you can begin to pinpoint that stored trauma as you map out the pain and where it's coming from and how it aligns, and then the tools that help your clients and yourself, because we have to do this for ourselves too, first and foremost, realign everything.
Mhm.
So, um, Kate, go ahead and take this one. You are great at
Yeah.
this one. I love it
Okay.
when you explain this. It's
So
fantastic.
especially for you guys, on these slides, we have the whole protocol kind of out for you guys. When you're doing it for yourself, you're going to be going through some of that breath work. You're going to be tuning into your body and kind of do a full body assessment on yourself. Where are things hurting? Where is there chronic pain normally in your body? What is that thing that tends to come up again and again and again with you? Um, Noting how you did with your breath work. Was there things that came up with your breath work, either an emotion or possibly just an area of your body that started trying to demand your attention? So you're going to go through your whole body and do kind of an assessment. And then I want you guys to write down those areas. Write down the muscle, write down left or right side. And then if you guys go to the very top of our chat, if you need, we have the book that will take you to all of the emotions. And as you go through, I want you then to, let's say you notice that there is pain in your left QL. I want you to go to the book and I want you to see what emotions are there. And I want you to write that down. I want you to write down which side of the body, what chakra it is that correlates with it, and the emotions that go along with it. We're going to give you guys all about 30 minutes to be able to go through all of this on yourself and to really tune in. And then we're going to come back, and those who are willing to share, we'd like to start going over your emotional body mapping so we can be able to kind of take those breadcrumbs and try to analyze them and look at them and see if we can be able to help our people in the class today.
Okay, so everyone should have gotten the book in their email, but it is also in the chat. Along
Where
with
is it in the chat?
Very top, it'll say, "This is the digital handbook." I think it's like the second message. Do you guys see it?
So grab that piece of paper. And you can go ahead and we'll be back here and we want you to just map yourself out. It usually takes about 30 minutes-ish. And you're going to map your whole body. We want you to go through what muscle is hurting. What is going on? Is it on the right side? Is it on the left side? And then work through, is it through a chakra? We can go back through that, but I'm going to head back to that one. Which divide is it on?
Mhm. Yeah, now think, is that past? Is that future? Does it relate to something? Is it mother? Is it me? Is it sister? Where is that emotional storage? Where is that emotional impact, that trauma happening?
So start with, you're welcome to turn off your camera for a bit. I'm going to turn mine off and then we will be here in the background. And go ahead and start your mapping. We'll be
Okay,
back.
we'll see you guys back. It is 6:30 right now, so we'll see you back at 7.
Have just a couple more minutes to wrap up any final mapping. I love to end this time with a fun, emotional release style song that I'll sometimes use.
Every soldier's decent. We so we can always fight. Everything has so much love. Get up, I'm falling to the sky. Look out, the baby can't deny. And all around me so much sleep, but I know there is no more peace. You break you down, I want to feel this going to, can't you see? It was like the dawn. You see, we try, and I picture the planet far. They wish we do what they went so, but we're not marionettes no more. Get up and put it to the sky. Baby, come the night. Break up. All around is so much leaf, but I know there is no more trees. Can't you see? They fear it's like a don't you now, so they haunt you.
How is everyone feeling? Mel, are you alive?
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Be right back.
One of my favorite things to do when I've got someone in, especially with groups or one-on-one meditation, is I have all different kinds of music and I'll run it from frequency into music that has meaning or jam to me. And so when someone comes into one of my circles, it might run through the gamut of starting with frequency music and then running into beats, because sometimes music is a great thing to open up, allow that releasing to happen, and then come back and calm it back down with another style. So I would love to hear what you found in your own body mapping, for those that are willing to share.
Yep. And feel free, you guys, if you're willing to share on here with everybody, amazing. If you want to drop maybe something that you might have found in yourself into the chat, that's okay too.
Well, if it helps you feel better, I'll start with sharing. How about that? Um, we're both perfectly human, and with my own body, I have noticed where it locks onto emotion. And I've had a lot of incidences. If you live long enough in a body, you're going to. But without going deep diving into my own stories, I've grown up in a very rough childhood with a single mom in a very poor neighborhood in the middle of Miami in the 80s. And it was so rough that I was out of my home by the time I was 13 and on my own. And the story can jog from there into imagination, but the losing the roots of my family was something that really affected me. And when I got into the, I think that sometimes the discussion comes up is was the emotion there first or the injury, or did the emotion invite the injury, or vice versa? Or did the injury come and then the emotion layer on top of it? Because they always seem to pair up. And so in my own life, when I was hit by a car, I prolapsed on my L4, L5 to the right side. And that is that that male side. I've never had a father until I had my father-in-law. And so when I get tensed up, I need to release energy more through exercise, more through kind of finding my confidence, my discipline. I tend to veer towards that masculine and be like, sometimes, and I have to really nurture and pet my feminine a little bit more and allow myself into that. And so my whole right side, from about my top down, and anyone that ever works on me are like, oh, yes, and I know me well enough to know that most of it is only released through the abdomen, going after my diaphragm into my iliopsoas before I have any relief. And a lot of people will start on my back and just feel what's going on from my whole structure down through the right side of my body. And as I've gone through my own trauma healing, because of course, I have my mama, there too. It's those pieces have shown up for me to allow me to heal that in layer by layer by layer. And so I've noticed within my own body how, as I peel back that onion of willingness to say, okay, let me face that one. Because within all of us, some of these dive really deep into the soul and into the guts of it. And you learn to live with the comfort of your own pain until you're willing to allow it space to release. And so I would really love to share, if you're willing to go into a vulnerable conversation of what you've found, because my body speaks to my emotions pretty much all the time.
I'll share with you guys, I'll actually have you dissect me a little bit as you would as a body worker. You guys got to hear a little bit of my story at the very beginning, so it gives you an idea of a little bit of my background. My area that I hold the most, it's on the right side of my body. It's my levator scapula. It's chronic. It's constantly giving me issues over and over and over again. So the emotions that go along with that are exhaustion, feeling overwhelmed, weariness, and stress. Okay. Now adding another layer to that is that it is the crazy throat chakra. Imagine that. It's the throat chakra on me. So what could you guys piece together, knowing a little bit about my story, why that might be a chronic pain issue? Knowing the emotions of exhaustion, feeling overwhelmed, weariness, and stress are all kind of residing in there. Who wants to be my body worker today?
Um, I I feel like, if it's okay,
Yes.
um, I feel like I'm going to be very presumptuous here, and I feel like a jerk doing that, but I feel like I resonate a lot with this because you
Yes.
mentioned earlier that you do have issues with your mother. So for me, the fact that it's your throat chakra and it comes from exhaustion and overwhelmed, then constantly either holding back the emotions or the way that she made you feel, or maybe needing to constantly overuse that throat chakra and maybe advocate for yourself or put her in her place or just plead and beg for some type of attention or some kind of understanding or perspective.
Absolutely. All of those with my mom.
I'm sorry, I feel
Absolutely.
that.
No, and you shouldn't. That's the thing. We're following the breadcrumbs, right? We're following the breadcrumbs of where things are and what's happening. And I do, my levator on both my left and my right side of my body, it is probably one of my biggest issues that I have overall that I struggle to find a way to work with. And then knowing that I have issues in my left deltoid with resentment, all of those kind of flow in together.
Mm.
So, Emily, you were right on point on me there for that left side. What about the right side of my body? What about that right levator? What do you guys think? Oh, I know Camille's I can see your brain just turning. Just throw it out, sister.
Just needing that feminine support,
Yeah, big time.
strong feminine mentorship and guidance,
Yep,
maybe.
yep. Agreed. You know, you guys may who have I for the past 8 years, I've been a caregiver to somebody, been a
Mhm.
caregiver to my husband. So with him
Right.
having to go through all of his injuries and stuff too, exhaustion,
Yeah.
overwhelm, weariness. Oh man, you guys, it's sitting strong, stress. And there are things that it's been 8 years since his accident, but I have been so busy trying to keep life as normal as possible. I have been in that male role. I took over, okay? So he was provider, he was the caregiver, and when he had his accident, our roles reversed. So suddenly I find that I'm having to be the logical one. I'm having to be the protective one. I'm having to think about a future that is very unclear and very unknown. Um, so yeah, that levator is just a pain in the butt between my husband and my mom.
Well, and expressing maybe the anger.
Yes. And I didn't get to because then I get told I'm a jerk. Well, your husband didn't die. You should feel grateful.
There's the lack of understanding of the multiplicity of truths. All
Yes.
lot of truths can exist at the exact same time. And
Yes.
without expression and acknowledgement of the full range of truth that is existing at the same time, something has to get repressed.
Yeah. Because I can't speak my truth because then I feel like a jerk. And I'm like, oh, well, I
Yeah.
want to be upset and mad that this happened to me.
Yeah.
But how can I when I should just be grateful that he's alive and he's, he's been doing his best to recover.
And when trauma happens, it just happens and you're swayed to the side that you need to be in.
Right.
And, you do what you have to do. And it's the aftermath
It's
of,
the aftermath.
of puzzle pieces and how we stack those bricks back together after we try to find our way out of fight and flight. Because in trauma, you generally hit some kind of flight, fright, or freeze, and you have to, if you don't work your way out of that and allow that trauma to really, or that moment to really work through you on all levels of the body, the mind, the soul, then it just gets stuck in that cellular memory and it keeps being reactive and reactive. And then other people come in, but but you should be okay. For Kate, it's like, be the tough one. You have to turn and you have to, I'm caregiver, I'm everything, and I'm doing it all. And for me, it's the same. It's like, okay, I got to figure this out. I have to be protective. I have to be disciplined. I have to be all of these things, because if I'm feminine, so I get stuck in my
I'm gonna
fight.
crumble, and I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna crumble. I
apart.
can't be feminine. I'm gonna crumble. So I get stuck a lot of times in my masculine, in my male, in my fight. And I gotta soothe that down. And as we work through emotions and we work through the mapping and we recognize the truths within us and the whispers within us, we're able to really balance those out and nurture what needs to be nurtured on both the feminine and the masculine side. So please go ahead
Brittany,
and share.
if I handed you a blueprint to your life, because you're brand new, let's say that you don't, you're coming into your life, you're just born, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what's happening, and I hand you a blueprint and you follow that blueprint, that seems accurate, right? We just like directions of something. We're going to try to follow the directions. We're going to try to follow the imprint, the blueprint of our life. When we think about generations, this gets imprinted on us and we get handed that blueprint to our life via former generations. And it's not until later on that maybe we start going, maybe this blueprint is not the right thing for me. Maybe what I have been imprinted with and told to do my entire life is not actually healthy for me. And now all of a sudden we're left and we have to figure out a way to create a whole new blueprint all by ourselves and try to break generational cycles of things that have been imprinted and not pass it along to our children.
And when we start thinking about that, sometimes we get resentful, but we also have to be those curious investigators of body work and think back to what happened in the past, even sometimes for former generations to be understood. My grandmother went to war, had war show up at her doorstep. Every male in this country was in war, and they were fighting frontline war, and then they came back. And these are the people that raised us. And when they came back to this country, it was buckle it up, get back to work. No, you don't have time. And so then it gets passed down and passed down and passed down. And I've even begun to notice the patterns between my grandmother, my sisters, my mother, and then even within the men within my family, of how we carry the same sort of patterns sometimes in what we ache for and what we're looking for in life, because we have to look at what happened to those that raised us, because if they lost their voice and it's buckle up buttercup and go there, then what were they telling the next generation and the next generation? And so this is where we as body workers become investigators to help people uncover sometimes those lost memories, but also find the compassion that if we are having our own stuff, they might have too, in ways. So I would love to hear.
Yeah, who else is willing to
I
share? Even a
thought
glimpse.
Brittany for a second was getting ready to share.
I'll share because I love sharing, and I always try to give space to other people to share because I love talking about this stuff. So I'll go. So yeah, so just to on the heels of what you said, my stuff's all in my left shoulder girdle. Totally, all of it.
Did the emotions seem to line up for you, Camille?
Yes. Oh yeah. It's all feminine in origin. I come from a family of all women. And I come from religious trauma and sexual trauma as a result of a religious upbringing. So there's just, as much as I've worked on this stuff, it's just there. It's in there. It's I can find it always.
What emotions seem to resonate the most?
Um oh, anger.
Anger.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is a
That's
common
easy.
anger that happens, especially with sexual traumas. And
Yeah, for
loss of
sure.
loved
So working through the anger, of processing the anger, it's taken me till midlife to be able to really fully give myself permission to access the anger.
Isn't it interesting that we have to finally give ourselves permission?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it's not allowed.
Right?
It's not
That's what we're
cute, it's
told.
not feminine, it's not pretty, it's not acceptable. But it's there. So it's crucial to find it, feel it,
Mhm.
express it, discharge that anger and rage, enraged emotion even. I mean, it's big.
Well, and
It's so
especially
big that it
when we're
creates,
so depressed.
chronic pain.
Yes.
And it really does need to be felt, and as Peter Levine always says, to experience it.
There are therapies, and both Kate and I have worked with sexual abuse, and there are therapies that it is a layering cycle, and it's a tough nut to crack. And I've experienced, when you're a 13-year-old in a big hood town, there's sexual trauma, and there's a lot of anger and rage that goes behind women
Yeah.
that have lost the roots of who they are and the
Hmm.
safety within their body. And so within that, this is poking that bear, and you open it up. And I've personally used not only body mapping, but TRE, which is do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
The-
absolutely. Yeah.
I on top of breath work, and sometimes those TREs, trauma release exercise, the I won't even say it's a theory because it really works, but it puts your muscles into a kind of
Tremor.
an exhausted state, so that
Mhm.
they'll hit that tremor feeling. Because what happens is that if you see an animal that gets trauma, like they kind of get hit, and they start shaking, and they shake it off, and sometimes you're really able to shake it all the way off and get it out of you.
Well, it brings you back up the ladder.
It does. It brings you back up the ladder. And so TRE produces that tremor and that shake within the muscle, and then allows you to move through the trauma in the tremor cycle of the trauma.
Yeah.
I've done that with breath work on top, and then another therapy, and I'm a tough nut to crack. I got to tell you, I've done a lot of my own work. And when we start layering these trauma therapies on top of each other with our knowledge of body work and our knowledge of the muscles, it really will help us find those paths to healing. And it doesn't take away the memories, but it makes us livable for life again. So we're not stuck in that past memory, and we're able to live in the now and move forward. So it is not about erasing the memory. It's about finding the balance where we break down the wall that has been holding us down and on our back for so long when you start working through trauma cycles. Thank you for sharing. It's
Yeah.
very near and dear to my heart. Those,
Mine too.
yeah. Brittany.
So there's a lot. Um, and it's basically from my left shoulder down. I have, and then, like I said, this started before massage school, even before I went to massage school, but like I have 3 partial ligament tears, a sprained tendonitis, like just all in my wrist, like the TFCC, all of it. But looking at this, so my husband's in the military, he's couldn't retire. I think his earliest retirement is 2027, I think. So like he's been in a while, and there's been this constant like me and my identity versus his career, and people are more reluctant to hire military spouses. And then we had kids, and it's like I stayed home with my kids. I breastfed my oldest until she was almost 5, which I do a lot of like breastfeeding is great for them. I should breastfeed. And then I was tandem nursing, and then we had a third, and I nursed that baby. And so I should. But my body is just so depleted and worn out. And there's also the side of me that's I want to have a career. I want to take clients. I want to schedule things, but I'm so terrified. It's like a huge block for me. I'm so terrified that I'm not going to be able to be there for my kids' special things, because that was a big thing for me growing up. Like it's really buried deep in there, because my parents, they're divorced now, but like my mom would work multiple jobs, putting herself through school, trying to figure out which bill to pay this month and shuffling things around. And then my dad would like throw it in our faces. Oh, well, your mom can't be here because she's too busy working. But he wasn't holding a job because he was drinking or doing whatever else he was doing. So I'm so afraid that I'm not going to be able to be there for my kids.
It's your left.
Yeah, it's all on my left. I have a little bit of tenosynovitis in my right too, but like the left it's a whole mess. So, and then there's also the part of me there was,
What are some of the emotions that you saw in through there, Brittany, that resonated with you?
my anxiety is not easy to deal with. So I think I mentioned like feeling depleted, trouble letting things go. I harbor a lot of guilt. I face my big resistance is perfectionism. Like I constantly feel like I just need it to be perfect and then I'll do it. You don't get there by waiting,
Yeah.
Um,
Be perfect and then somebody will love you. Be perfect and then somebody will appreciate you. Be perfect and nobody will want to hurt you.
even in it's really like in my practice, like my clairvoyant work, my body work, it's like, oh, if I do all the things and I have things just right and just so, and I want it to look exactly this way, that's when I can take clients, or like that's when I'll move forward. So I want to move forward, but then I also like hold myself back. Another of the big things, like the feelings of like being withdrawn and like pulling back, that was a big one, because I feel like I rely heavily on my community, because we don't have family anywhere nearby. And my family can't just jump on a plane and come spend a month with us or whatever. But a lot of my friends are also very religious. And so me doing clairvoyant work or energy work, there's a little bit of like an underlying tension there, and a fear of being like truly authentic and just really embodying me, because I still need these people.
Yeah.
So
Oh, my heart.
Struggled with that one.
Oh,
And just in your body, you said left arm, you feel how that lands in that heart chakra, and it's almost stuck right there,
Mhm.
right? And so it's finding the bridge that helps you cross over into feeling the rest of your body and balancing that out. But thank you so much for sharing, because we all have our tough stuff.
And especially when you guys, anything in life, when somebody's not being able to feel like their authentic self, can I tell you how much of a drain and energy goes into that when we have to feel like we have to suppress ourselves, especially suppress ourselves in order for somebody to love us or to accept us or to appreciate what we might have. Ah.
And on that note, my daughter, watching her go through and get diagnosed with autism and being like, but I did that stuff, but I do those things. And so, like, seeing masking and like from the neurodivergent standpoint of like not just being you, not just being authentic, that's a whole other layer to it as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is anyone else open to sharing? Right.
So I want to tell you guys, take you through this a little bit more and understanding, because we have several things that we do within this process. We have the emotional body mapping. That's always our number one. We're always going to map somebody to try to empower them. That's really what emotional body mapping is all about. It's knowledge and it's empowerment. It's you getting to be a witness and validate somebody. Because how many of you went through your body and your emotions and just reading some of those emotional descriptions, how many of you felt validated where you may have been told before that those are not valid things? Or you have gone to doctors for pain and they haven't been able to figure out what's going on. So emotional body mapping is always number one. Number two is creating the plan forward. What do we need to do for you? Getting that idea of where are we at? Where is your nervous system at currently? How are we going to help things feel better just to start out? So that's where we come into parasympathetic reset. This is lovingly called sleep therapy massage, because we are going to grab that person by their own ass and remove them from the heat. We're going to show them that you don't have to be on this heat. So we are going to do a 90-minute to 120-minute session with them, getting them out of their sympathetic. And this is where we are not going to do any trauma therapy. We are going to still map in our mind, in our head. This is our next portion. We're going to do these full body connecting strokes, because that's what this myofascial flow is all about. It's a foundation to start moving things through the fascial lines to be released. So this first one is all flow. We are not going to poke the bear. We are not going to do releasing the myofascial trigger points that we come across and find. However, we are going to note them, because we're going to know that those are additional areas that are holding emotions. They get through with that. Just 90 minutes with us, you guys, in a parasympathetic reset is equal to 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours. That's insane. That's more than most people get per night. So this is a big one. And this is one that we're going to come back to anytime the person needs. Anytime we're doing trauma therapy and the person goes, you know what? I'm getting a little overwhelmed. Our next session we'll do with them, we'll go back to parasympathetic. We'll get them back to that center. We'll get back to that restful state for them before then we go ahead and continue on with the next part of our trauma therapy session. Even within, as we are doing a trauma therapy session with somebody, we are going to be bouncing them back and forth. We're never going to keep somebody in their sympathetic system. We are going to bring them and work on release. We also, with the way that we do trigger point therapy, we treat it as a fascial problem. That means even to get into that trigger point, we're not going to just press on top. I know a lot of school of thought, and especially in our local schools, it's taught that you just press on a trigger point. It's a myofascial issue. This is where trauma is being held. It has to be approached in a myofascial way. So you have to create a wave, a myofascial wave, pin that trauma. You're going to scoop it and pin it to a bone. And you're going to hold it. So you're not going to come on top of it. You are actually going to come underneath it. You're going to bring up that trauma and pin it from below onto a bone. This is where things get interesting and we start to have the big releases in the body happen. When we start seeing trauma and find those trigger points and we address it in a myofascial way, whoosh, it is a dam breaking. We are going into those adhesions and into that trauma, and we are finding a way to now get that dam to break. And then we're going to follow it up by a myofascial stroke to continue processing and moving things on as the dam has broken. Because now's our chance. And think about that. When we do trigger point, we block it, right? We're going to add more pressure to that area. We're going to build up the water. We're going to build up the flow. And then when we release it, when it melts and we finally release it, we're going to get that whoosh effect that happens. Do you guys have any questions on kind of the method modality of what either parasympathetic reset or a trauma therapy session or an emotional body mapping session would look like? I am here to answer. And we do have, we told you guys, we do have full day in-person training for these type of things, because getting to feel it and have that time not only to learn how to do it for your clients, but to have that experience of having that release for you. Oh, it's life-changing.
When you're in these sessions, both Kate and I, we stand as a witness as we watch someone move through their body and the traumas that they're having. And with body work, I can tell the difference. Am I working on physical or am I working on emotional? And I've learned how to break that barrier and break the dam on purpose and open it up. But we don't want to do this without permission.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to have additional resources always on board. So one of my favorite podcasts lately is called Healing Trauma, where they're really discussing how talk therapy is not the all and be all of things. You have to put it stuck in the body. And they are, a lot of these counselors, I've spoken with counselors, are crossing over and saying, I need to learn Reiki, or I need to learn this, and I need to learn that, because I am getting stuck in how to help people clear the contention or clear the conflict within their self, their body, or their family. So we pair up with counselors. We're not talk therapists, and so you want to structure how a session is managed. With the first session, we do a 90 minutes, 10 to 15 minute onboarding, allowing people to talk, 10, 15 minutes offboarding through the session with 60 minutes within myofascial flow, unlocking the body, unlocking the energy centers in the body, and basically poking that bear with our techniques of aromatherapies, stonework, breath work, body work. When you begin combining all of those together, it really does more than just break the dam. It kind of shatters it and allows that to exit the body. However, we have to know our place as therapists and not cross over into the territories we don't belong. When you're in these sessions, especially as therapists, it is so easy to feel someone's pain and want to take it from them and hold it and house it and cuddle it with them and go, I know how that feels and I want you to feel better. But that is not the job of doing this work. The job is to be a witness. It's to create the access and allow them their space to flow through their emotion and their body and experience. Sometimes when you're in this work, it gets deep. There are screams, there are tears, there are all kinds of things. And you still have to maintain the witness and make sure that you have collaboration on board with counselors, talk therapists, doctors. You want to assess your clients properly to ensure that you don't unravel someone that is not ready to be unraveled. We don't do this on purpose. We do it on purpose, but we do it with consent. It is always consent first as we move into mapping, as we move into these kinds of breath works and releases and stuff. Who has experienced an emotional release before?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Many, many, many.
Many, many, many.
Mhm.
Have you felt the times where you have it come up, but it doesn't release and it locks back down?
Oh, yeah,
Of
of course. Yeah. It gets stopped.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's scary
And
for the person experiencing the release, and they pull back out of their body into their brain again,
Mhm.
is my interpretation as a pretty seasoned veteran in the field of touch therapy. That's my interpretation, is that they feel the release, they feel the emotions coming to the surface and wanting to be expressed and experienced, but it's taking them by surprise. And so they just stop it.
And this is a place where that's why we go in with that consent and that permission. And oftentimes we may not even move into the release patterns while we're with them in a first session, or even heavy release patterns with someone when they're in a first session. To let someone prepare themselves for that. A lot of times the first session is only the body mapping and the awareness of what is going on in the body, and because knowledge is power, right? And knowledge is power. When we can put on the knowledge of what's going on the energetic systems, the physical systems, our thought and our nervous systems, our breathing, when we can pair up those knowledges and allow people to opt in, that is when you really begin to see some dramatic shifts. It's tough when they're caught by surprise and they're like, no, I don't want to do this.
Well, I've been caught by surprise as a receiver too,
Yeah.
when I'm getting body work, and then all of a sudden, without any warning, I'm having stuff really touched on at that myofascial level. I know how to work through it, but sometimes I don't want to.
Mhm.
I don't want to share it with that person. I just want to get a massage.
Sometimes we're
that
not in the
person-
right place.
Just wanted to come get a massage, and now I'm sobbing on the massage table with somebody who I don't really want to be doing that with. But it's kind of crazy when that happens. Or acupuncture has brought that up too. Just working on some thing that I came in to get worked on, and then all of a sudden there I am grieving on the acupuncture table.
I've had that happen before. My
Those
husband-
needles get right in there.
They do. They can access really fast.
And that's just part of the part of being a human being, is like, there you are again, feeling all of your emotions.
Mhm.
But it can be tiring, especially if you've like stacked appointments
Mhm.
and
It
you
is
have a
about
life that has to
finding-
be lived after your big grieving session on the acupuncture table nowhere.
Yeah, it's about finding the right time and the right
So
moment.
it's complicated, and I wish more practitioners would build in space for building consent and really understanding what they're getting into when they start touching a person.
Mhm. Poking
Because
the
then
bear.
I have to hold space for them.
That part. That part. That
Yeah.
There is a time and a place for certain releases and stuff, and there's definitely some resources I keep in my back pocket. I'd love to share for you with anyone that needs them for the right times and places sometimes, and finding that proper community and space for it, because it takes multiple teachers. Especially Kate's worked a lot with military, but human trafficking as well. I've worked a lot with body injuries and sexual trauma, and grief, losing people, the grief of losing people too. And when you start to cross these barriers between the higher realm and what we sense in the world, that intuition, the whispers that light on our shoulders from above, and then the whispers that we have in our body, it is like this magical thing, but at the end of the day, it has really become science. That the cell remembers. It has a generational memory pattern, but it also can be repatterned. And it can be repatterned when you are ready to do your own work. I won't say it's easy. It's definitely, once you're done with it, it's like, oh, why did I hold that for so long? But it's not easy work to do for ourselves. And, speaking, Camille, to what you shared, it's like the deeper you go in yourself, we get to pull up those women that need the permission to say, hey, I was in that space that I lost all my power, and now I've gained it back, and they need to be able to see us. And it's hard to share. It's very hard to share. And the more publicly I share, the more I'm like, so.
Yeah, I feel like my my clients really appreciate that about me,
Yeah.
that I speak very openly about the traumas that I've experienced,
Mhm.
and I have de-shamed it, so I feel very well received when I share my parts of my own story with my maybe not a brand new client, but with a trusted
Yes.
longer term repeat client. It's just this humanness that's brought into the treatment room.
Mhm.
I
And we
think
all
we
need,
have to get used to being human with our clients.
Yeah. It takes a
Yeah.
while though to get there. I think
Mhm.
you have to really
You develop
learn
a
who you
relationship.
are, develop a relationship with yourself as a therapist,
Mhm.
gain that confidence, and just
Because
be out there.
you don't want to go into a room. You want to make sure that you're very present with yourself and your own humanness, because there's a fine line between allowing someone their own session and then spilling your stuff on their.
Oh yeah.
And I've been in sessions where it's like, okay, now I'm holding space for you, or, and I'm not getting the massage I needed, and I just wanted a massage or something,
Mhm,
because there was sharing within.
mhm.
There needs to be a professional boundary of, hey, in that sacred space of trust that's been built, that is really just honoring yourself, but honoring the permission that you're giving to someone else to acknowledge their own body, the trauma that's locked inside, and what they feel is valid and true. And when we begin to poke the bear and create those acknowledgments throughout the body, throughout the energy systems of the body, we also then need to make sure that we have a well-laid plan for how we can continue to support people, because these are often not one and done things. You begin opening a can of worms, and you usually take care of one worm in the can, and then you kind of have a bunch other that you have to maybe
Yeah.
try to seal back up, or I don't know, or go after at some point. And I love how Kate puts it of, are we the boiling pot? Are we simmering? And if we're just sitting there simmering below the surface, then
Did we
we're
get to do that today? Did we do that in the first one and not this one? Talking
um
about the pot.
talk to us about the pot.
Okay.
You
Do you guys
bring
want to hear about the pot?
tell us about the pot.
So I love especially when we are working with clients, we want to do something that is relatable, that they can understand, that makes sense. We can't talk so high above them with our knowledge and education that it gets lost. So when I talk about the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system, I love talking about a pot. We are a pot of water on the stove. And during the day, we might get to that point with our sympathetic system where we are boiling, where it is just going and we are hot and we are boiling. But you know what? We calm down, we get there, and maybe the rest of the day we just live in a simmer. We're thinking, hey, I'm doing real good. Remember that part of the day when I was boiling? I'm just on a nice simmer now.
I
But
can
what
help
is
it.
happening to the water, regardless if we are on a simmer or a boil? What is happening to our essence?
It's
To
being
our,
depleted.
it is being depleted, you guys. We are losing our water. And sometimes by the end of the day, there is no water left. And we are just burning our pot on a stove. And how is that affecting our body? If your body is the pot, your water is your energy and your essence, and it's gone by the end of the day. Oh, and now think about it too. Inflammation, autoimmune diseases, so much of it is chronic inflammation. So, how is that inflammation happening? We are the pot staying on the stove. And how many of us know how to turn the stove off or how to remove ourselves from the flame? How many of your clients know even what their sympathetic and parasympathetic systems are, let alone how to move between them and utilize them as a tool for healing, for processing, right? Oh, so important. So being able to talk and tell our clients about their sympathetic and parasympathetic system, why things might be happening to them, giving them the why, which is what so many of our clients are looking for. I need a why. Why am I feeling like this? Why is this so hard for me to do? Why do I only have so many spoons each day when I used to have as many as I wanted? Why? So, how amazing that we can be able to come up with these amazing ways to talk about this subject and be able to give and help them understand the whys. Because once they can wrap their mind around the why, oh my gosh, here I am holding my stress, my anxiety, my grief in this area. This is why I'm having chronic issues in this area. This is why I don't have enough energy during the day to take care of the things that I need to take care of. And it's not because I'm lazy, it's because I am literally being depleted.
Yeah.
So that's my pot. And you guys, guess what we are? We're the chef. We're the chef who comes in and goes, "Oh, hey, your pot is boiling over." And guess what? We can turn that stove off. We can teach them that they don't have to have a burnt pot by the end of the day. They don't deserve to be a burnt pot at the end of the day. They deserve to be so much more.
And I'll speak from personal experience, though, you know, that low simmer or that fiery spice sometimes becomes very comfortable. You know, I like my fire. I'm
Uh-huh.
kind of spicy, gets a little too spicy and saucy for some people though. So I had to learn how to simmer it down.
Me
And
too.
right. Oh, wait, that
You're
doesn't
being
work.
a bitch.
I
Oh
wasn't trying to be,
no. It's cute.
but we get good at that, that fight within us, and it becomes very comfortable, even embraced as part of our personality, right? And then we hit this, oh, my pot's going dry. God, I have nothing left. Something at 40 turns on, especially where it's like, oh, the button is broken. I can't refill it.
And you guys, our body, what is our body mostly made up of?
Water.
Water. Water. What is our fascia? Our fascia needs. It needs
Water.
liquid. It needs to be able to have that lubricant and that movement in it. And if we are so dry, depleted, and we are just on boil and simmer all day, you guys, there is no water for our body to be able to be successful.
So we have to learn how to turn it off, take ourselves off the stove, and enjoy a big old pot of soup that we've made, hopefully it's just not simmered down, but it's full of a richness of life that is going to nourish us.
Life and
Kind
flavor,
of-
baby. Life and flavor.
A little sugar, a little spice. We need them both to play in this life. And but it took me a long time and possibly a pandemic to learn how to take myself off the stove, because I may have turned up the fire a little too hard and then like had nothing left. And so I finally had to learn to take myself off the stove to really, at the end of the day, save myself. Because as
Saving
caregivers,
yourself.
yeah, and this is where, the younger you are, if my age can teach you anything, take yourself off the stove now. Not going to be worth burning yourself up and burning yourself out and down to the ground when it is easy to just allow ourselves to be nurtured in the feminine and the masculine, to look at our energy centers, each chakra point, and identify what it is we need. And so sometimes it's, I need to face that male in my life. I need to face that female in my life. I need to face whatever it is I'm ready to face. But we are our own healers. And so that's where we pull back. Once we stop looking at ourselves, we pull back and we go to, how do I do this professionally? And I like to boundaries. If we are great therapists, and especially for anyone that feels very empathic and they feel everything from their clients, and they go home and they all of a sudden have that same shoulder pain on top of them. All my little empaths, let's have a word. The slides and the stones, for my young empaths, I love to always hand them black tourmaline and black kyanite, and please put these in your pockets and wear them everywhere, because they are two stones that help create a buffer between you and the world and allow you to know what is yours and what is someone else's. And so it kind of quiets that down to create a little bit of barrier for you. And when I do, Kate has a different method. I'll let her explain hers in a minute, how she does energy work. But when I do energy work and energy processing, I've done theta healing, and I'll do DNA repatterning. And so when I'm in a session, I will access chakra points. I'll use stonework, aromatherapy, sound frequency. And then I ask specific permission, and they do know that they're coming in for this session. And within what I've learned in theta healing, I can basically jump into someone's nervous system and see what is going on for them if they can't see it themselves. And often for me, it shows up just like this leaf on a tree kind of thing, of where it just says whatever it has to say. But I like to say, when I start repatterning with people and you start cellular repatterning, the cell has its own language. And a lot of times you're just allowing it to lift off of that language and sort of repatterning it with something else, something more soothing, more palatable in essence. And our subconscious gets confused a lot of times from how we perceive and what we take in from a young age, from what we're told. And so my two favorites are, the early bird gets the worm, but good things come from those who wait. Come to those who wait. We've heard it all, right? We've heard those two. Which one is it? They conflict. There are two things that we've been taught that constantly conflict. And so oftentimes our parents have taught us things like that, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, tell that to a farmer. They think so. So it's about allowing the cell in the belief system to change its mind and to give it a nurturing process that it will allow itself to change its identity or change its mind and the way it processes from something that feels, to me, it feels like a utilized program or a used up program. Sometimes it feels hard, like a hard thought. It really depends on how it comes in, but it's about repatterning that for them. And they can only do their own work, right? We are not healers. We are our own healers. And I am but a stepping stone in anyone else's path to the next level. And so as professional therapists and standing as that witness, that is where we have to maintain ourselves as stepping stone in someone's path, and not holding on to what we feel is easier. Oh, I see your pain, let me hold it. people will end up needing to that lesson just gets reprogrammed for them. And so it doesn't serve them if it doesn't process through, and it doesn't serve you because you just take it home and hold it. So I know I've got therapists here who has taken stuff home with them.
Me.
Any of you?
Yeah, I used to. The first 10 years of my career, I did. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Mhm. I used to throw up
Mhm.
when I would get home.
So if you're taking on
I
work,
would sit and cry in the shower. So
Aw.
I think this is one area where I consider myself very lucky because I did my clairvoyant training before going into massage.
Yeah,
So
that's
all of the boundary work and, things like that, like I have a pretty good foundation and like the cord cutting and separations. So
Yeah.
far, I don't feel like I take a whole lot with me beyond sessions.
that is great. And with some of the bodies of work that you mentioned, I could see how those bodies of work encourage that boundary. And so that's what we encourage, is that boundary of maintaining that you're the therapist, you're the witness within this process, but it's not your process. It's theirs to go through and therapeutically hold the session for them and stuff. I was trained early in my career by a Korean shiatsu master, and he yanked me out of room one time. A closed door. All of a sudden, I'm just doing something. I know nothing. I'm a year out of school. I'm mentoring with an acupuncturist and a Korean shiatsu master, and I was naturally gifted at energy work. In fact, when I went into it, it was because I was pulled into a room by a bunch of therapists when I was really young. And they just went, wow, your ability to follow energy, you need to go to massage school. And so they just kind of pointed the way. And then as I got into it, and I'd say a year out of becoming a massage therapist. So at this point, I'm years and years in being a practitioner to a therapist. I still was fumbling around like a toddler in the energy world. And I was blessed to take on and be accepted by some mentors, probably accidentally, but they got me. And all of a sudden I'm working on someone, come out. He's like, opens the door, come out here. And in the hall, he's like, you don't do that. You don't do that. You don't
Wow.
pull the energy into your body ever. You allow it to process outside of you and go up into the universal energy. Never pull anything in you. And then he turned me around and sent me right back into the room. I don't know that teachers could get away with that today, but I remember that it was one of the greatest lessons I had in how to manage energy amongst myself and someone else, is that I don't pull it into me. Often people will lean into our nervous system and lean onto our energy system, but we don't want to pull it all the way in to us, and that, because that's when I've made those mistakes and I've done that, I'll spin out of control. And I tend to veer on that masculine side, and I've got anger issues. And so it's not pretty, if I veer out of control, because I'm not nice, and I'm generally not nice to myself. And then it spills out onto everyone else because I've forgotten how to be nice to myself. And so it took me, that energy master to really be able to say, this is how you move energy out. Someone else's energy can move outside of your body, and you can use the energy of creation as the conduit of the work. Kate has another method, and we all have our own methods of how we're able to create our barriers. And so I love how she explains hers as well. And so,
Oh, I do more of a classic double bubble. I like to think of my inner bubble, my me, as Grand Central Station, and I am sitting on a bench in Grand Central Station, so I can see everything that's going on around me. So now the trains, as they go and they move, they're outside in the double bubble. So I can watch them outside of myself. I can acknowledge and let things come in. I can let the train come in. I can let it go around. I can watch it. I can watch the things that are going on. And then I let that train leave the station. So nothing gets in to my bench, to my grand central station, my me area. But it gives me an amazing view where I can see everything that's happening and that's coming into the station. I can watch it and I can let it go. The thing that a lot of people do is they get on the train. Even when we talk about like sleep therapy massage and we're talking about helping our clients shut down their mind, how many people get into bed and they're exhausted, but as soon as they do, their mind starts going? These are the people that get on the train and they just go round and round and round and round. We have to learn to be able to just sit on our bench at our lovely little spot there at Grand Central Station and watch things go by. Watch what happened during the day go by, acknowledge it, acknowledge that I still have dishes in the sink, but I'm going to get to them tomorrow, and let them go. And then that thought is gone and it's processed. So in the way that I do a lot of things, that's how I handle doing my double bubble when I'm working with extensive trauma. And you guys, this was a trial and error thing for me. I never had anybody who taught me these things. They were things that I just had to unfortunately learn the hard way and sit in my shower and cry over the things that I could not fix because I was that person in life. I just want to hug everybody. I just want to heal everybody. I just want to take, if I could take on the pain of everybody and have it on my shoulders and let somebody have a painless life, it's one of those things that I would do. And that's not a good thing. I have had to learn the hard way that drains me. That puts me up to a boil and it drains me. And how can I be that healer and that guide if I'm doing that? We talk about a nervous system sync. When we pull somebody onto our nervous system, that means if I have a client who's in sympathetic system, I can't be in sympathetic system. I can't let them pull me onto their sympathetic system. How many of you maybe work with teenagers? We have empathic teenagers who don't understand their superpower and they nervous system hop all day long. So we get these teenagers who come home and go, I don't know why I am angry. I don't know why that's bothering me. I don't know why I am crying. Because they have literally nervous system hopped all day long and they don't know what their emotion is or what emotions they have taken for others. And so teaching them what their superpower is and how to control it and how to utilize it, how to have their blocks in and be able to go, oh, okay, is that my emotion or is that not my emotion? As soon as us as body workers, especially with that generation, start being able to educate them on that, oh, you guys, whole new level of what nervous system syncing is. So for us, when we go into a trauma therapy session, I can't tell you, I have canceled trauma therapy sessions that I had on the books because I was in my sympathetic system. I had so much on my own plate that I knew I was going to be no good to this person. Pulling them onto my system or me jumping onto their system was not going to be beneficial for either of us. And this is a really important thing to be able to know within trauma therapy, that there are going to be times where we have to say, no.
Got to tap out. And why we'd love to have you guys map yourself and start with you, because the self-care of a therapist is the utmost importance. If you're not self-caring, if you're not breathing, drinking water, taking in good nutrients, sleeping, exercising, and doing all of the things that fill your cup and fill your vessel, we are only working from depletion and we don't have anything to give. And then we just burn down and we burn out and we're like, why do you want to take everything? Right. I just give and give, you know? And so it is about that finding our own tools of understanding, of knowledge, and of self-care. And as a therapist, one of my main things that I do is I go home and I take Epsom salt baths if I'm ever touching a client, you know. And I do a process. I do an energy work process that is it's a salt burn that I take communities and individuals through. And oftentimes on the really, really bad days, you know, I process my own stuff and I do my own letting goes and whatnot, because I like to go around and be curious in the world and understand people, but sometimes that gets really sticky on me, especially if I become overly curious in a nature. And as a mom, I love kids and I love the joy that they're in, and I love the laughter and everything. And then still, if I don't sit on that platform, like Kate says, you know, has that technique and watch it go by, I keep trying to grab onto that joy that I saw, those laughters. And if you've ever seen how a joke never hits the second time, it's that same thing. It's just like, yeah, it wasn't funny the second and third time. No, and it's so it doesn't matter whether it's a hard one or even something so joyful. If we don't allow it to flow through our body and flow through our energy and witness for others and ourselves, then we get sticky within these emotions.
So really interesting, guys. What are the ways, because we talk about a lot of this from, you know, body work side and different things like that, where we can have people on the table. But you guys, there are so many other things, that emotional body mapping, nervous system syncing, places we can go and things that we can do. I just barely got done going to a school in Oregon and teaching the teachers how to do a nervous system sync with their students first thing in the morning, because so many of them come from backgrounds where they come from homes that maybe are very chaotic. And so they are having a lot of behavioral issues. So teaching these teachers to be able to first thing in the morning create a ritual where they do a nervous system sync, bringing their students onto their nervous system for the day. Wow, what a difference it made, even just the teachers doing it to themselves, just doing it with each other, and how it changed the way that they were feeling and that they felt more uplifted. And they are all so excited to start implementing this into their classes to see what things happen. And then we have the principal who's going to be conducting to see if by doing this during the day helps bring down the behavioral issues that come across her desk every day.
Yep.
Boom. Right
My
there. Body workers. We are facilitators for something new and different. And it's not you just being at your table. Working, like I said, with teenagers. A lot of teenagers with these behavioral issues and stuff. So many of them are empaths and don't know. And they are nervous system hopping. And then they are doing things like cutting, because they're trying to find a way to get all of this chaos that they're feeling, the emotions, out somehow in a physical way. So working with this very much in need teenage population, to be able to go through and help empower them. You guys, there we go. Infants and babies, there we go. Working with those who have Alzheimer's. This type of thing, once again, doing a nervous system sync. So much of that happens with behavioral issues for our elderly is because they are confused. They are scared. They are in fight and flight. So us being able to go in and do care touch and do nervous system syncing with our elderly, wow, amazing. Once again, not at your table, not having to use your body in a number of crazy ways, but sitting and holding hands and doing breath work and breathing. You have a whole new world opened up to you within the healing arts, within learning trauma therapy and emotional body mapping. Guy
And
is the
in my spa, we have been blessed to walk multiple clients through heavy, heavy, heavy processes within life and even through hospice. And so when it comes to end of life care, it is holding space. It is being with them as a witness in life and allowing that touch, allowing calmness to gentle their fears. And it's the same thing with children. So babies, you notice when you're babies, if you know, for the moms in the room, if you're really upset, your kids are more nervous around you, more concerned, or kind of trying to figure it out. I know for me, my kids can't stand it when I get mad, even if I don't say anything and I, you know, start humming, and my daughter will start humming and I have to.
And what is humming, guys? What does
Oh my
humming
God.
do?
She's self-soothing. Yeah.
It's activating the vagus nerve.
And so she's and so I now in my adult and mature awareness and knowledge, I deep breath, gotta calm down. Where am I simmering? Where am I boiling? And usually find my methods to just release that. So she's not leaning into my nervous system, because she's always leaning on my nervous system, let's be honest. But I want her to not feel like I want her to honor her emotions and to know that they're all true and they're all valid. But I don't want her to need to walk through whatever might be bothering me. It's not on her. It's her job to go be a kid, you know, and stuff. All right. What shares? Let's, you know, I know we poked the bear on a couple of you, if not everyone. And so how do we make sure that when we kind of stir this up, and some of us have experience with this, but when you stir it up with a client, and how do you bring it back down in time, in the right time frame? Because we're clinical based, right? Or appointment based. We don't need to spend 3 hours and talk with someone afterwards. So how do we start? And we've talked about how we start and broach these sessions and ask for consent, and then open it up with the tools that we've laid out. And we take them through and poke that bear. And now we need to calm them back down and sort of allow them to close the drawer and of what that memory is. And so do you have any shares that of how you are able to manage that time and manage that session and close the drawers so that you can stay within the boundaries of a therapeutic session for someone?
How I end my sessions always is with a lot of just very soothing strokes, especially to the face. That in my mind is closing the drawer or zipping them back up.
Yeah.
So that the final touch is, you know, on the top of the head. but then at the very, very end, I'll sweep back down to their feet
Yep.
and just do a foothold with some audible breaths so that the last, say, 15 minutes of a session are very soothing, sweet touch.
Yeah.
I
live
think
that.
that's so important, ending with that type of, compassionate touch at the end with any session, that final feel good. I know when I would do deep, intensive therapeutic work, people would go, but you always end it so nice. And so it's
Yeah.
like pregnancy, like,
Mhm.
or labor and stuff. It's horrible when you're going through it, but then after you're through it, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I have a baby in my arms now. Yay, Oh,
Let's do it again.
she did a little bit of like orange essential oil at the end and, put some hot
Mhm.
towels on my feet. Oh, everything's okay now.
Yeah.
I have this method and it starts before my sessions when I take people through breath work, but I guide them through that breath work and into a meditation that is like planting a tree. And I plant people into the earth and then I plant them up into the universe and then I bring them back down into their body. And so I kind of start my sessions that way. And then I pull in, all my tools are coming in at the same time. And I'm one that I pull in a lot of modalities, all, EFT. I'm hitting all those chakra points, all those energy centers, that are, in those EFT patterns, which is emotional frequency technique type things. I utilize music. I tend to take that sound frequencies and then I kind of jog the music onto a different level that is again, kind of like let's poke at the bear, let's poke at the trauma a little bit and open up that cage. And then I soothe it back down with the music changes, the essence, the touch changes as I pull them back down into their full body and then kind of center and calm the nervous system and the chakras with my stones. For people that can sense energy and stuff, you can turn them on and heighten their power and you can turn them off. And so at the end of that session, I just start kind of closing everything down and soothing it out. And then about 5 minutes before my session is done, I do have like a little kind of chime that people begin to notate that is, we're coming to completion. And at that point, it's a note for me and it's a note for them that I am getting ready. We're closing things down and I do that same, it's that soothing touch. It's not necessarily closing down the crown chakra, but soothing it so everything's not lit up like a flashlight. We're gonna kind of just allow it to settle into its resting pattern so that someone can walk out, because I think the hardest thing someone can experience, and I've experienced this before, is if someone goes in and they work with your trauma and then you leave and you are raw and you are shook and you don't know what to do and you're in this spiral. And so you have to be very intentional. I do the brushing down the legs and I generally anchor into the feet and do some grounding work for myself. I audibly guide them through a little bit more breath pattern. And then through my own visuals, I'm a very visual person into myself, but I can kind of visualizing any energy that might be any pieces of them that are on me go down and get anchored into the earth, creating their own conduit with their own energy, their own body. The earth feeds us, it nurtures us, it grows all of our food. We can't survive without it. We all need to be planted into that root chakra. But I do believe we all need to be planted also and through that crown chakra so that we can trust ourselves and trust our guidance and our navigation and our intuition. And thanks.
Well, you guys, we are about to our last 30 minutes. We always leave this open up for questions and dialogue at the end. Anything that we've talked about, anything that you want to know more about, anything that you have questions on, anything like that that we can be able to do. And if you don't have any, you are welcome to be able to say goodbye and to take what you've done and please utilize it ASAP. Find somebody to body map. Find lots of people to body map. Start into the journey because the more that you can start right into it and start discovering, the easier it's going to be to transition and utilize it in your practice and start really helping people get to the next level of their healing.
Let's go ahead and open it up to final questions and how to use these in sessions professionally, either individually or as a group. Because there is group work here where you can take it into places and teach body mapping to people, teach a little bit of guided breath to people as an introduction. And then there are private sessions too.
Yep.
So,
I have a question.
Oh.
You mentioned and kind of spoke at length about nervous system syncing in a group setting.
Yes.
So can you speak more about that process, what you exactly mean and what you
So a
do?
big thing that we do is that we're going to do we're going to start with a breath work session with everybody.
The three phases is you take
The
a group
three
through those-
phases. Typically, we won't do a trauma release, but we'll do the other two.
Okay.
We'll do those. And that, especially if you're talking about a youth group, oh my gosh, talk about empowering somebody who has stress and anxiety as they are discovering themselves and growing up. Let's teach people to breathe. This is amazing. But the other thing that we get to do is body mirroring. So we'll have the teacher going around to the child and mirroring hands, almost like they're touching, but they're not. And then the teacher will maybe go in a circle around with one and the student will copy. And the student will go around and the student will copy. And then they'll do like a nice breath work and they'll copy. So the teacher will go and they just spend maybe 5 seconds kind of each student going through and doing the breath. It's not long at all. It's a very quick process, but this is starting to bring everybody on to that teacher's breath. So it's very neat to see because somebody who is very maybe ragged breath, as the teacher slows their breath and they do their movements together, you'll see the body start to melt. So like these kids, you'll see their bodies, their little bundle of joy bodies just ready to go, suddenly start to melt. Or the child who's maybe bullied or having a hard time and they have that very closed off posture where their shoulders are rolled forward in a very protective reserve. When the teacher starts doing the parasympathetic kind of breath work with them and does a little bit of the body mirroring with them, all of a sudden, it opens. You start seeing immediately the change in the child. It's so much fun to watch. And I really am excited to hear how this goes for this school and hopefully that some of those behavioral things will start to change. Because if it does, they want to hire in body workers to come in one day each week and work with those kids who maybe come from the foster care system or who have home life challenges, to be able to get consent from the parent to be able to have one-on-one work that we do in what we call a zero gravity chair. So it's fully clothed, it's in a zero gravity chair. We do the same thing for victims of sex trafficking. We point the chair towards a door so that they can clearly see an exit. They have full control of the chair and being able to sit up as they need or lay back as they want. And then they'll start into doing trauma therapy sessions, the syncing and everything. And it's so exciting. It's in Salem. Salem, Oregon, is where the school is. So it's in a more poor neighborhood area from what I was told.
Can I ask, did somebody like reach out to you from the school or did you reach out to them? How did that facilitation happen?
So this one is kind of funny because it's my sister. So she's watched my journey all these years and she's a principal now and she wanted to figure this out. And so she's like, okay, she's had the nervous system sinking, she's had the trauma therapy, and she went, come in. When can you come? I need you. I need you. I need to see if this will work. And I was like, great. You want to be my guinea pig? Let's do it. And I had gone to do it for a few others, doing the teachers, just teacher training, back when I was in Arizona and here. But once, I've never marketed, which is kind of weird. People have just always found me. And they're like, I know you do this. And I heard by so-and-so that you could come in and you could do this. Can you? When can you come? But there's also things that you could be able to reach out to let people know that you do. Same thing with the local foster care systems in your area. They are always looking for people who are willing to help and volunteer in different ways. And that was a big one that also got my name out for this. And that led me to doing a lot of work with teenagers. Because there were a lot of then teenagers in the foster care system who had a lot of issues, and helping them understand at that point, they are controlling their own nervous system. So it's empowering them and understanding not to nervous system hop and how to control their own nervous system through breath work, through different things like that. You guys, this is seriously just the coolest. I hope more of you go out and start doing that kind of work because it's an area that needs it so badly. We need body workers in that side of things.
It's actually not hard for people to find you once, or it's not hard. People will come seek you out once they know that you're doing this. And I've been in spaces where I mention it in passing and someone will 2-3 months later, as that thing you said, I need that, that session. I need that session. I've been thinking about it for months now. And my son's school had breath work and yoga in it at the beginning of the day. He was in a fun, unique school, but teachers are looking for these resources because and so when they can find them, they're happy to use them because what we see, especially in impoverished neighborhoods or Title I schools, is that parents are so exhausted themselves. They're working 2 or 3 jobs and a tech is raising the kids. And it's not that they don't want to parent, it's they don't have time anymore because they're just trying to get by sometimes. And so there's so many different reasons that go into what happens within life and within childhood, within schools, that it really does take a community, it takes a village, and it takes talking about this and just approaching people. And I was actually sitting at a table the other day at my daughter's birthday party, and a bunch of parents show up, and I was so excited. We're writing this book, and we're so close to final edits and to be able to launch this book. And all of a sudden, they're like, I didn't know you did that. I knew you owned a spas, but I didn't know you did that. And the counselors, and then I found someone else. Oh, I'm a body worker here, and oh my gosh, my studio would love to bring in Ariatsu and that breath work and everything that you're talking about. And then another lady is a counselor and a family counselor. And it happens over and over and over again when I just talk about it, because I believe it's that space that we're offering each other permission to be authentic and to be perfectly human.
Thank you so much, you guys. It's been great. Thank you.
You are so welcome. And thank you for all of your participation today. You were beyond lovely, my friend.
Thank you.
So will the book go a little bit more into, and you
It
may have
goes into a lot more in depth.
okay, and you may have spoken about it, but like, how did you arrive at a lot of these sort of patterns and stuff? Like, is it like meridians?
So a lot of it is more Eastern. So it's going into representation of the meridians and the chakras and the flow. So it definitely goes back more old school along there. And then adding in the fascial lines and theories just made it go even more.
Okay.
For me, I started in Eastern philosophies when it came to the body with my mentors, and so for me, the chakras, the meridians, and then the fascial lines, it just made sense as it began to align. And 20 years ago, I felt kind of like the weird one, noticing all of these patterns, because people think that, it's clairvoyancy or psychic and stuff. And while that is out there for sure, I really get down to, I read energy first and English second,
Uh-huh.
and so when you start to see the Eastern philosophy of the body and medicine align with what we know in our Western philosophy of the body, and I personally, the Western medicine does not work for me. And so I've always leaned in to natural homeopathic, Eastern medicine, acupuncture first as my first line of care, and then I'll go Western. And so for me, I've just played in the realm of probably the nervous system, and then we're able to just see the patterns as they began to line over the body. And then, of course, with Kate, when you're working in depths of trauma that are inside those hospitals, those doctors, the PTs, they all discuss this openly. They see it every day.
Okay. I kind of noticed that it's all kind of negative.
So with this part, yep, it's all of the negative side. So now when we get into the art of emotional release, you're going to get the flip opposite side. So we start with the side where we're having the struggles and the things coming in so we can identify. And then the next part moves into all of the positive and replacing some of those kind of negative things.
And that's where I really think that live in person, Kate and I, we have a retreat planned next year. We've had to push it off to next year. And it is the art of emotional body connection and that release pattern, because Kate knows those meridians the fascia and the body. She's seen the trauma and stuff like that. And she understands this side. And it's kind of like we both sort of came together with our knowledge because, we both know both sides, but I leaned heavily into the emotional release and the energetic sides. And where she got in as her caregiving into that physical trauma and how to heal the body sides. And it all really, when you see both sides, it just comes together. And so we do have on the heels of this book, Art of Emotional Release, where it's protocols on how to
What
help.
to do next when we
What to do
identify
next.
and the emotions that go along with being able to help the healing process. So you have this one that is going to have more of the negative things because it's creating the chronic pain and the issues in the body. And then the next one is all about healing that, releasing that, and kind of the opposite pole of those emotions that we need to be able to fill the void and the gap with.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but is it like is it the chicken or the egg, right? Is it the
Right.
physical stuff
And
causing
sometimes is it a lack of something, right? Is it just like something's happening in the body? Is it that you're unhappy, or is it a lack of joy? Is it the
Right.
chicken or is it the egg?
Right,
Right?
right. Is it the physical pain that's causing the emotional, or is it the emotional that's causing the physical pain?
Yep. And so often there's a play on both. And this is where it's really important for us to analyze if something is chronic. So, the most ideal person when we come for emotional body mapping is the person who's gone to the doctor. They've tried different things. The doctor says they're fine. I've done all the imaging scans. I can't find a reason why you would be having this chronic low back pain. That tends to lead us that it's emotional and not physical, where somebody who's just had maybe an accident, and had physical trauma that happened, that may not necessarily be emotional. However, sometimes too, our body keeps trying to send us messages and we ignore them. And I truly believe that sometimes our body will allow us to trip or fall or do something where it's going to bring attention to the area that it's been trying to get somebody to acknowledge.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the chicken or the egg? That's the big question, because I don't know, it might be both. It seems
Yeah.
to intertwine.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting day. This has been a topic of discussion literally all day long. As I mentioned, I had a lymphatic drainage treatment today, and she uses the Lymph Star. And so it's like she's speaking all of these scientific words that are going right over my head, but a lot of it was about like electromagnetic field and how the electro is the mental and the magnetic is the physical. And it's just been crazy how it's all kind of like tying together with this evening. So yeah, it's pretty great.
And it's so great because there's so many different ways that we can interpret it depending on our client, because all of us are not the same. And I love the thing about this is that once again, it brings that validation. It gives that hope that somebody who's been working through something for so long and they start to feel crazy. You guys, how many times in my life have I been told that we've done everything possible. You are in such great health. Okay, well then why am I in the emergency room throwing up and being so sick?
Yeah.
And so there's definitely where we can find that there's stuff sitting there that is making us, I think, sometimes often chronically ill, and being able to look at it and address it and then feel, I mean, when somebody can go in and look at the emotions and go, oh my gosh, that's me. That's me. That provides that validation, that amazing relief that maybe, maybe there is hope. Maybe I'm not crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think there's a kind of toxic positivity aspect to our culture as well, to where
Mhm.
you don't want to validate it because it makes you less somehow, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that has been a thing of the past, and people have thankfully been like, enough with it, enough with the
Yeah.
positive toxicity, because it just shut down our throat chakra, right? Let me not talk. I can't tell you how many times people back up when they, when it's something too heavy for them. And so, no, you need to get over that, or, oh, you know, and
Yeah.
it just shuts us all down. And so this is where I think that we all need to push through. I know, again, Kate and I have been pushing through our own throat chakra to be able to, you know what? Yeah, we're going to share this. And it makes us nervous, because it makes me nervous sometimes, because yeah, I'm in religious territory, it's not accepted so well if you can read a body from what it says by the way it walks in this world. And then when you start to know how it maps out with those emotions, people are like, how do you know me so well? And it can scare them, which is why we opt in with permission and consent for these. And just rip off the positive toxicity, because I don't believe in it myself. And we're valid in our anger, and we're valid in our feelings. And I think we have to be the ones that go forward, because I don't know about you guys, but I feel like massage therapists are the front line of healthcare. We're like the boots on the ground, honestly. And we're catching people when doctors don't know what to do a lot of times, but we're also catching people when they can't afford the doctor. We're catching, we're catching the, I broke up with my boyfriend. We're catching the, I need a mental health day. We're catching my body's in so much pain. And personally, while I have had physical accidents and physical trauma, it was not until I got into emotional release that my body actually started to unlock and become alive. And I can have massage every day of the week, every week. I have the best therapists around me. I can go anytime, but until I lift off, until I want to look at what is underneath that trigger point in my body, on my right side, in my shoulder and my hip, if I want to be specific, until I'm willing to get in there myself and allow someone to take me through the work, it stays there. And now I do my work on purpose. Like, I go stack up, who am I going to use for this one? And they'll intuitively come to me. And like I said, I've done a lot of processing, so I'm a tough nut to crack, and talk therapy don't work for me. So I've learned, okay, these are the right people for this particular one coming up. And this is the right method for me.
Yeah, I've found it really interesting, like just with what little I've learned about the emotional body mapping, structuring my treatment or my service. Like, I'll ask people, like, one treatment in particular comes to mind, and I was like, do you want to work on the past, or do you want to work on the future? Was kind of how I worded it. And they were like, oh, that's such a great question. And it really makes them think about their own healing instead of just wanting me to do the work for them.
I love that. That is fantastic.
What a great way to broach that. I love that question.
Yeah, so it's been really great, and I can't wait to go further into it, and especially being able to supplement and say, this is what you could do to kind of counteract or balance
Yes.
your symptom you're having. So
and there's a lot of different in the book, there'll be a lot of different advice of like what you can do to help with that area. Like, what can you do to help heal that area? So even in this one, while it doesn't go into the full opposite, it does give a lot of advice on techniques and things that you can use to help heal yourself, have tools to be able to utilize.
Yeah.
two of the tools, and I may have forgotten to mention them, that with heavy sessions and someone that's willing to dive in, I will often send a client with like maybe a stone that calls to me or calls to them that I've used in their session. And then I have these really small little blank book journals, and I often put my people through what I call a 5 and 10. And it's 5 minutes of write your life how it is, write it in all of its reality of exactly how it feels, and then reset that timer for 10 minutes and write it how you would love your world to show up and be. And that really helps people identify goals and where they want to be, but also what is the truth of how I really feel in my life, And so those are, there will be a lot of tools in the book. We will send, you have the book and you should have gotten everything, but we will resend this video. We'll let you into our Facebook group, The Art of Emotional Body Mapping, so you can continue the conversation. And then I would love to go into your questions, Brittany. Absolutely.
So is the book longer than 90 pages, or is this the
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's what,
No,
182 right now, or 100 and yeah, it's a few.
something like that. It's a few. But this at least gives you kind of the little handbook gives you at least a little glimpse of starting into it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely a lot to go on and get started with.
But yeah, there will be a lot. And then book 2 with the release is just going to have so much more building onto it. So together they're going to be, I think, a really great guide for people to have, which I'm so excited for. Huh.
Book 2. This is the first time hearing about it. That's
Yeah, so
We've
we're already
got a
writing
couple of
book
them.
2. Oh
Got
my
a couple of them we're working through, and this is the first of a couple, but this one and then The Art of Emotional Release will be on its heels. Brittany, to answer your questions, when it comes to the scoop and pin, when oftentimes, as Kate explained in school, people try to come on top.
And there's a video of it in the Facebook group, because
Oh,
that was the
perfect.
question too. So it actually takes you through and shows you the method of the scoop and pin. So if you go to that, you will be able to see it.
Yeah. And how do you package it? That's up to you and your practice. I recommend that this be a treatment on an individual treatment on your menus. People should know what they're walking into. You should have appropriate consent forms that allow that, opt in to it. It usually starts with the mapping. And then people tend to automatically, those that it calls to will opt into a private session with you. So when it comes to like work and how do we package it, I find it is wonderful to start with that kind of group basic level 1. Let's do the mapping, let's do the breathing. And then I have this private session that is trauma therapy. That is start the first one, 90 minutes. And then I do like to package people up. That's up to you whether you do it at 3, 5, or 10 is the normal. You want to make sure that I let people come and go as they want with this work, because it takes a moment even afterwards to just process it and before they're ready for it again. And so how that really works for you and your clientele and who broaches you for this will be yours. But I've definitely through 3, 5, and 10 sessions, but I tend to allow people to come to me when they're ready. And those that have been to me, they actually knock on my door more than I let them sometimes, because I have people that will come and they're not prepared. And I refuse to be the guru or doing someone else's work for them. And so if someone is using, I like to say, a lazy Buddha, If my lazy Buddhas, I'm not interested in doing trauma work on them because I can't do your internal work with you. I can only maintain being a witness. And so
Okay. So do you recommend if they come to you for this work that they are already working with a mental health professional? Like, is that
Ideally, that would be the best. However, I don't make that mandatory because everybody's on a different journey, and I'm grateful if they're even willing to start processing stuff in the body. And I hope that as we unlock some of that, I can maybe help them realize that having that mental side of it, getting some of that organized in their mind is really going to help them. This is where I also like having amazing people that I trust that I can refer to. So definitely, try to make some contacts so that you can be able to give that resource if you need to. Somebody specialized in trauma therapy, maybe does EDMR, different things like that.
a lot of times if you just start talking to other therapists and counselors that are working with clients along the similar path, you'll find a referral back and forth very easily between what you do and what they do.
okay? Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us for this class tonight. We're so excited for this work. It is really just the heartbeat of what my work has been and what Kate's work has been. And it is our vision and our joy really to help the next generation or the next people that can take up and understand the body, understand how we function as humans, because this world needs a big old hug.
And we did not want this to become a lost art because so many things within our field are starting to become that lost art. And we want to make sure that it keeps getting passed along.
And this is not for one therapist. Go shout it out. You go
Shout it.
do the work, go shout it out, go talk about it. It cannot be lost. My work, I've been told before, my work can't be lost with me. I have to document my work before I'm allowed to retire. Kate too, she keeps trying to retire. I told her no.
I keep trying.
We just have to define each other, and it's like, oh wow, sister. Oh yeah, we are like built from the same cloth, and just truly blessed to our goal is to create ninjas within the world and within the luxury spa world, because you can have private practice, you can have pain clinics, it shows up everywhere, but people go to the spa and it shows up there too. So we would like everyone to be fluent on how to speak the language of everything that goes into being a human.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Always
Have a good
lovely
night,
to
you
see.
guys.
Good night.
Have a
See
good
you
night.
next time.
Bye. All right. Great job. Bye.